I'm Rachel Alday, and this is the Hospitality Breakroom, a podcast full of nuggets and secret sauce, where every Monday we'll shed light on what we've learned from the countless mistakes we've made along our journey in the chaotic and rewarding world of vacation rentals. Hello, and welcome back to the Hospitality Breakroom. Today, I'm here as usual. I'm Rachel Alday with Abode Luxury Rentals, and I'm here with my husband, Rob. Rob and I founded this company together and continue to run it to this day after all these 17 years, which in and of itself is impressive. And we're coming up on our 15-year marriage anniversary, which is
Yes.
insane. But we're still here. We're still doing this together. And so Rob came on today because we were going to talk about homeowner relationships and like the good examples. Is that right?
Yeah.
Of how it works really well when a property management vacation rental company has a great relationship with the homeowner and how that can be really fruitful. Maybe some examples of how it doesn't go so well, but some ways that we've learned to make it really positive. And so this is our fourth episode in the second season. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it might be the fifth or the sixth episode of our second season. So that means we're at like 15 or 16 episodes, if that's even possible. That's kind of crazy. So you're lucky enough to jump in if you've never listened to us before. Right now in the middle of our amazing second season, where we are trying to focus our conversations on topics that would be interesting to people that own second homes that are vacation rentals. But as always, everything that we talk about is also probably something that people that work in the vacation rental or short-term rental industry, I feel like all of this stuff that we talk about on any season or any episode would be interesting to people that work in the same industry as us. Okay, so we're going to get started talking about homeowner relationships. And I don't know, where do you want to start with this, Rob? Do you want to start with like some examples of when it can be a really positive thing between a vacation rental homeowner and a vacation rental management company? Like, you want to give an example?
Yeah, I mean, I think just start at the beginning
Okay.
as far as like, when you're first contacted by a homeowner.
Yeah.
And they reach out and obviously sometimes there's some red flags to look for, but sometimes there's some, I guess on the opposite side, green flags to look for when
But
they,
like, if you're thinking of it like a homeowner, like what you would be saying to a homeowner, like what are the ways that maybe some examples of ways that a homeowner could start that conversation off like on the right foot? Maybe it's like a way we could help homeowners to know
where they're just
Yeah.
coming at it from a perspective that it's a partnership
Yeah.
and that you are a professional and you have experience doing this. You're not just
Who's a professional?
the property management company is a professional
Yes.
and they understand what they're doing.
Like theoretically, like
Yeah.
depending on who you're talking to,
Yeah.
right? But if you're a homeowner and you've done some research looking into your different options for vacation rental management companies and you found one that you think is pretty solid, then that would be the right time to, you're hoping you're probably going to make the assumption or like hope that you can make the assumption that this is a professional company.
Yeah, and they're trained, they have software, they have, processes, they understand what they're doing, they're running a real business here. I mean, just if you hired someone else to do something for you, in some capacity and they were an established business, you're not gonna, watch over them
Yeah.
and kind of, be a little bit
Micromanage.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
micromanaging.
I mean, I think that, in the old days of the vacation rental industry, that there were a lot more people managing properties that maybe didn't know what they were doing in quotes, because maybe they were just caretakers. And then there was this new concept of renting properties. And so I think that history sort of could be blending over into the now of like
Yeah.
people thinking, oh, well, there's these guys that are going to manage my house and rent it out. And they're just like basically cleaning people and a handyman. And it's like, now because the vacation rental industry has come so far in terms of the specialization that we do and the more high level marketing and caretaking and guest services.
Yeah, hospitality. It's
it's
that whole
become true
component.
hospitality.
Yeah, that it's not just and I think too. You were talking about the old days. I think also the flip side of that is the new days of like some people see it as like, oh, what do you mean? I want to be like an Airbnb host. That'll be so fun. You
Right.
get to talk to people, and they think it's just like, just slap it up on Airbnb and then, it's all good. You know,
Right.
they give you a rate range and it's easy. And
I mean, which some companies or some individuals may do it that way.
sure, yeah,
Yeah, and so, I mean, as a homeowner, you have to be looking if what you want. I mean, there's a whole range of things that homeowners could want,
yeah,
right? Like, a homeowner may be looking for a co-host, which is not a terrible thing. Like,
no, yeah,
it's different than what we do because at Abode, we do full service property management and vacation rental management, but there is like, it runs the gamut these days of what kind of help you might be looking for as a homeowner, and so I think the things to think about from the homeowner perspective are like, are you looking for a full service management company, which most times would require that you're gonna pay some sort of percentage of the revenue and or possibly additionally like a management fee monthly or seasonally or
correct.
whatever. And then that's on the one end of the spectrum where we are, right? And then on the far other end of the spectrum would be maybe like co-host type arrangements where you hire someone to help you set up the house, to make it rental ready, and then maybe you handle your own marketing and your own communication with potential guests and your own guest services and that kind of stuff. And so I think that's one thing to consider as a homeowner. And then once you've made your decision, and let's just say for the sake of this conversation that you decided you want to go with more of a full service company, similar to Abode and many of the sort of enterprise level vacation rental companies out there, but the lines are blurring between what used to be considered more recently like STR, short term rental, sort of um, more like people that own multiple units themselves and rent them out themselves. But those lines are blurring because those people now are starting to manage for other people because they learned how to do it. So now they're taking on clients. And so if you're a homeowner and you're looking for help managing your house, then you do want to be considering, are you finding a professional company, right? And so once you kind of figure out which end of the spectrum of the vacation rental industry that you're looking at, then you're deciding on what are your options and who's the most professional. And then if you make that choice and you're like, okay, I think I have these three options, they seem like they're the most professional ones, then I think what Rob is saying is you do need, you should consider as a homeowner that being a professional vacation rental property management company, that there is a skill set involved, and depending on the level of experience that that company has, you know, to approach a company that has experience in vacation rentals and property management as if they're just like a handyman and housekeeper would be probably not leading to a positive relationship
Yeah,
with them.
and it just needs to be a partnership,
Yeah,
much like, when you hire someone else in any other sort of professional industry,
right.
you give them your opinion as the client. You say, "Okay, what you're looking for, what's the desired outcome,"
Yeah.
you know, any specifics that you're looking for along the way, but then you also trust them to act on your behalf and do
Yes.
the best for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's sort of the rub sometimes of, like, going back to what you were saying is, like, it's almost like some people wanna hire a, what are they called now? The host,
A
a
co-host?
co-host,
Yeah.
or they wanna hire a professional management company, but they wanna treat them like a co-host.
Yeah.
Like, they're in the day-to-day with you, and they're, like, gonna set the rates, and they're gonna,
Yeah.
like, set all the minimum night stay and, all that sort of stuff as opposed to just really trusting you and saying, "Okay, I know you guys got it."
Yeah.
And then we can check in monthly or quarterly or whatever the cadence may be.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, I think it's, everything in business, everything in life is changing constantly, right? Like everything is on a continuum, whether you look at any specific industry like real estate or technology, or if you're, an options trade, I don't know, anything, it's on a continuum, right? It's constantly on some sort of a curve line. And the same with vacation rentals.
Yeah.
Like this industry is constantly changing. And so it's come a long way. And so, when you're talking with homeowners, it's going to be hard for them to kind of understand how professional a company that they're talking to might be. And it's going to be also hard for them to understand what the gold standard is
Yeah.
because it's changing all the time,
Well, and
right?
especially too if they've got experience and maybe they got
Yeah.
burnt once and
Yes.
yeah.
So it's like I feel like in our position owning a property management vacation rental company, we do understand how hard it must be for homeowners. And also we started this because we were a homeowner. So we did sit in those shoes, although now it was a long time ago. But it's like, we get it. It's hard to know that the people you're talking to can be trusted to number one, protect your investment. Number two, properly manage it, properly market it. Number three, get you the best possible price. Number four, take care of the guests. And number five, make your personal experience when you visit your own home nice. Like there's a lot, right? There's a lot that you're entrusting to these people. And it's hard to know if they're going to be really good at this operational stuff. How can they also be good at marketing and
Yeah.
price setting and all of that? And I mean, yeah, like that's what makes this industry so difficult, right? And that's what makes it so interesting because it seems like sort of a handyman housekeeper type business, but it actually becomes more complex because of the marketing and the need for, dynamic pricing and all of that. And I think one of the hardest parts of our relationship with our homeowners from the very beginning, it tends to be setting price points, setting nightly rates. What
Yeah.
do you think?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think because a lot of it, maybe they've been told something or they got some projections or their neighbor said such and such or they're used
Mhm.
to
Neighborhood
rates.
gossip is like
Yeah.
really can get you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or they've heard rates 2 or 3 years ago were X, and now, you've seen domestic travel pull back a little bit and things have settled out,
Yeah.
and now rates are Y. So just, people having an open mind, and to kinda going back to what you were talking about is like, with this partnership thing and what kinda are in homeowners' mind, it's like you have to know that it's a partnership and you have to know that there's gonna be hiccups along the way. There's so many moving parts with this
Mhm.
that there's gonna be a water heater explode. But it's not that it exploded, it's how we react and then they react to us. If
Yes.
it's like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I can't believe that it's your fault for whatever
Yeah.
reason," and it's like, "No, company X just replaced your water heater 2 years ago. It was totally fine and something whatever happened."
Right.
There's accidents happen, things come up. It's more like what builds that partnership is how we react to it as a management company, and then how, then that reaction with the owner and how that takes
Yeah.
place.
It's so
It's
touchy.
and what we always talk about is we never want with owners or guests any sort of adversarial relationship.
Right.
Um, that
Well, at least we don't want an adversarial relationship for the sake of an adversarial
yeah, yeah,
relationship.
where it's
Like,
always
sometimes shit happens
yeah,
and stuff gets, frisky or, like, spicy, and we gotta deal with it, right?
yeah,
Like, and it just happens. But, there are certain people that you deal with in business, and we run into this in vacation rental management, oftentimes with homeowners or with guests, where it's like you're dealing with someone who, for whatever reason, and oftentimes it has nothing to do with anything having to do with Abode Luxury Rentals or anyone on our team, or maybe not even with this location that this trip or this home resides, right? It might be that this person or this group of people or this family in particular or whatever is dealing with, like, I'm not even saying, oh, maybe these people are just jerks. I mean, like, maybe they're dealing with hard stuff
yeah,
that we
other
don't
stuff in
know
their
about.
life. Yeah,
Yeah. And then what can happen is that can be um they're compressed in a situation like a water heater, explodes, let's say, and then there's all this pressure on them and like, everything has to go somewhere. And so sometimes it just goes to the lowest possible point. Like as they say, shit rolls downhill.
yeah,
And when you're in a role where you're taking care of a house, that's sort of a down at the bottom of the hill position. And then it can fall on us.
yeah,
And those relationships can be super unsuccessful, if the person we're working with, let's say it's a homeowner, if they're unable to get out of that sort of adversarial mindset, then that can be like really negative in terms of a relationship between a property manager, a vacation rental company, and a homeowner.
yeah.
And
Which
so,
is
like,
like the downward spiral, but then there's
yeah,
also like the upward spiral,
yes,
like that you have with your homeowners as you get started and as you go down the road and everything. If there's some appreciation and gratitude from both parties,
mhm,
then you see like the relationship really flourish,
yeah,
and it takes on really a life of its own where like things can kind of go rocky, but it's fine because you both kind of have each other's back.
right,
And they, like, I'm thinking of, like, a couple new homeowners now, they were kind of, on the fence at first about rates and things like that, and now they've got a few bookings, and they're beginning just to trust the process. It's like, "Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this is so cool to see, like, I didn't
yeah,
think this was gonna happen so quick," and da da da, and so it's like, they really get excited about it.
yeah,
And so it's nice to see kind of that because sometimes you just focus on the downward
yeah,
spiral, but it's nice to see that upward spiral when you're both on the same page, you're both on the same team, and you understand that, like, okay, we're trying to accomplish this, and so, we both have the same goal in mind.
yes, yeah. I mean, you know, I think the relationship with a homeowner is so difficult because when you think about a real estate purchase, or even someone that's owned a property for a long time, maybe when we get involved, maybe it's not a new purchase, but maybe it's like a family property that they
Mhm.
inherited or something. There's so much involved. If it's a new property, there's the huge expense and the investment, whether it's a cash purchase or a mortgage. Like this is a big thing that happens in someone's life, whether it's their first home or their 10th home.
And a new
Like it's
property, you think,
still
"Oh, it's perfect," and it's like,
right. You buy a
never."
new home, even if it's a new build or it's
Yeah,
someone else's perfect home that they sold you, and then you deal with the reality,
yeah,
right? Which is any home, whether it's brand new or it's 50 years old, there can be just so many things that happen in a house. And if you've ever owned a home of any size anywhere, you know that, right? And so there's all the risk factors that are every single day happening. Like we just got to call our own home where Rob and I live, which is a year old. We just built it. It's brand new. And there's a leak coming down from the hood over the stove, right? The oven today. And that just like that kind of stuff just happens, right? This is what happens. It got a little warm. Some of the snow is melting on the roof and there's water dripping. So in a property that we manage, that can feel really sticky because we want to make sure that we tell the homeowner when there's any issues that come up. But sometimes in a relationship with a homeowner who has this sort of need to be more adversarial for whatever reason, they could easily turn that into, "Why are you not taking care of my house more carefully? What did you do that created this leak?" When in fact, maybe, we didn't do anything and maybe that's just part of the construction of the house and we're gonna work to resolve it. But there's always this sort of, this like fulcrum that things can like a lever that can go up and down. And it's like, if the homeowner moves that point, that fulcrum, to one side, then things can go so easily up and down. But if you move that fulcrum more towards the middle or more towards the other side of like more a positive outlook, then it becomes harder for that stuff to, move so quickly. And I think that's like the key relationship that we're looking for is
Yeah.
when people are not always ready to jump all over something. And that's hard. That's like hard to build a relationship of trust like that with a homeowner because sometimes it takes time. I mean, sometimes it just takes a person who's ready to be trustworthy and who just naturally has that trust in us because we've been doing this for so long. But for other property management companies that are newer, it's like, how do they build that trust with a homeowner? If it's not, Rob and I and Abode as a company, we're very much about the long game. And I do think the long game is such a surefire way to build trust, to establish yourself. But, there's all that time, all those 10 or 15 years, whatever, leading up to being in the long game. Like, how are you building that trust? Because you still have to be building it when you're newer.
But I think like some good ways that we've found are like, when our property enhancement team goes over to the property
Yep.
to inspect stuff, or even if it's just a weekly inspection, you uh, sending the owner a photo, or like the property enhancement team, they'll do a FaceTime call with the owner from the property and say, "Hey, look, this these pots and pans need to be replaced," or like this, and then that really has built a lot of good rapport between ourself and the owner of just like them seeing us in their house doing the work that we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
And it's just it creates, you think it's so little,
Yeah.
and really the action is kind of little, like it's not a big of a deal, we're doing it every day, but they don't see it that way. It's received as something way greater than what it actually is.
Yeah, no, that's true. Okay, so the next topic that we were going to discuss here was because Rob started with, that first part of your relationship with a homeowner, or from the homeowner's point of view, that first part of your relationship with a vacation rental property management company. And so now, like moving into that next stage, let's say you've had this client in the portfolio for a few years, or if you're a homeowner, let's say you've had this vacation rental home, maybe it's like 3 to 5 years you've been working with this company. And it's like, how do you keep that trust and stability going in that relationship? Do you have ideas for that, Rob?
Yeah, I think part of it is that property enhancement piece that we talked about, going through their property, showing them that you care and that you're looking after things and like, hey, this blanket's all raggedy, let's get a new one,
Mhm.
all that sort of stuff. So property enhancement's a big deal, sharing reviews with them, good and bad,
Yeah.
people love your house, look, it's so amazing. Or like, hey, these folks say you may need a new, mattress in this room you've never slept in. Only your kids sleep in it, so
Yeah.
no one would ever know except the actual renters.
Yeah.
So all that sort of stuff, sharing feedback with them, and as well telling them and reaching out, saying what kind of proactive maintenance you're doing. Hey, we had to fix X, Y, and Z. Um, Passing some of those charges along as zero because it didn't
Yeah.
take you any time. You just went out to the car and got a tool and you fixed a few things,
Yeah.
and showing them that type of stuff. I think that really helps.
I do too. I mean, I think like to clarify in some of the points that Rob said. So, like, for instance, with property enhancement, a lot of people listening, because there's like probably like 5 million to 8 billion people listening at any given moment to this podcast. It's very popular, even though we don't promote it. Just kidding. There might be 5 to 8 people listening,
Yeah.
but still, that's a lot in my opinion, because I never thought anyone would listen. But okay. So for people listening in general, like the concept that, property enhancement, I don't know that people in vacation rentals or homeowners would even necessarily get this
Yeah,
because it's
maybe not.
kind of something that we all talk about. But I do think that Abode, we're not totally unique. Other companies do this similar to how we do it, but I do think we're somewhat unique to the point where everyone might not get this. So we have a program within the business called our property enhancement team, which is really someone named Julie, who's wonderful. And if anybody, I think I brought this up on the last episode or a few episodes ago, but if anyone's listening and if you if you work in property management and vacation rentals and you want to learn about how Julie came up with this property enhancement program, or if you're a homeowner and you want to learn about it because you want to tell your property manager about it, or if you're one of the Abode homeowners and you want to know more, we've probably already talked to you about it, but feel free. You can always reach out to us at Abode. Julie is Julie, Julie at Abode, A, B like boy, O, D like dog, E, luxury rentals with an S.com. So the property enhancement program, you want to talk about it?
No, I was just gonna say, and Julie working with Inhaven has been
Oh yeah.
a
Inhaven we
huge,
love. Yeah.
yeah, has
Which we
been
could like, I feel like I'm always doing commercials on here about our favorite software and our favorite like vendors, suppliers, whatever in the property management, vacation rental, short-term rental industry. But I mean, Inhaven is like the bomb. We love, there's a few partners that we love working with, and Inhaven is a huge one because they're creating standards for our industry. They've created a really um, sort of refined and well-defined way to set standards within your own properties in terms of kitchen, all of your kitchen items and all the
bed
inventory
and
in the
bath.
kitchen, the
Yeah.
bathroom, the bedroom, like linens. It's been
And
really,
it's
really
super easy.
helpful.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's the thing that's helped Julie so much
yeah,
is she's got a good eye
it's
for it.
true.
But then the ease of just ordering things through Inhaven and
Yeah.
being able to show the owner, like, okay, here's what we're going to order. Do you approve it? Like, here's everything we talked about on the,
Yes.
FaceTime or Zoom
Like,
call or,
Inhaven and Julie together really is what created our property enhancement program.
yeah,
I mean, really, you're right. We do have Inhaven to thank because Julie had these ideas, and then she was, we had found Inhaven, and her and Ashley with Inhaven have worked together, and now we have this amazing, I think, like best in class property enhancement. So, what am I talking about? Property enhancement. So, this is a great thing. We've talked about on the podcast before. We've talked about doing property enhancement when you're bringing on a new property and really bringing up this topic during your interview with a new homeowner who wants to put their property in your portfolio. And I do think it's really important to get this stuff, the discussion started when you sign them on, because I think if you wait, then you can miss sort of like a really good window for it. But after you've had a property on for a while, or if you haven't started your property enhancement program until after you've had a house for a while, which was us for most of our properties, then like how do you bring this up to a homeowner? How do you get them to say yes? Because for years we didn't have what we called a property enhancement program, but we definitely had homes that we wanted to help the homeowner make them
yeah.
nice
And it
or
was very
nicer.
half-assed of like, oh, look, the guest just burnt the spoon or
Yes,
whatever on
there'd
the
be
pan. And so
issue
it's like,
from guests
yeah,
causing issues, or there'd just be wear and
wear and
tear
tear.
that a
Yeah.
guest would notice or we would notice. And then we'd try to find ways to propose updates and remodels and like, inventory revision for the kitchen, bath, and bedroom to the homeowner. And we just didn't have great tools to like present it properly and make it sound worthwhile for the homeowner. And oftentimes it just like failed and it was really uncomfortable. And so this program that Julie and Inhaven have created is that one where Julie does inspections and it's not like a regular inspection. Like, we love Breezeway. Another thing we love is Breezeway. And Breezeway, Julie has created a checklist within Breezeway that is specific for property enhancement inspections. So it's an inspection that's like very, very in-depth, looking at every item. And I mean like every spoon, every kitchen towel, every measuring spoon, every measuring cup, like
Yeah. It's
every
way different than like
shelf.
your weekly inspection
Yeah,
or
so
anything like that.
she's looking at, like, the quality, the consistency of everything in the kitchen, everything in the bathroom, everything in the bedroom, and, like, everything in the house, whether it's, like, furniture, carpet, tile, countertops, paint. She's really looking through a house and seeing, like, what's the condition of this house? Does it need some updates, some remodels, some revisions, some fine tuning? And then she's going through, and because we have the help with Inhaven, and I think there's another company or 2 that does something similar to Inhaven, but our experience is that Inhaven is the best one doing this right now. And if you want to fight me on that and you have some other idea, let me know. But so far, like our experience says Inhaven has the best process and the best stuff. And so what Julie then has the ease of doing now is we have these standardized things that we recommend homeowners put in their house, whether it's the plates, the cookware, the bedding, like the linens, the bath towels, the plungers, I mean, you name it, right? Like just a lot of things. And where I'm talking down to like side tables for, your couches or bedside tables in a bedroom, or just like, a bunch of items that we have consistently recommended in homes. And of course, there's details here that depend on the size of the home, the that are in a home, the style of, is it modern or traditional, whatever. But we have all of these standards within um our tool that's been set up for us in with Inhaven, so that Julie can go through after she makes this list this like she uses the breezeway checklist. She looks through the whole house. She checks off what needs to be updated or revised. Then she goes back with Inhaven and she can pick from this grouping of all these selected items what she's going to recommend to the homeowner. So if they need all new plates because they only have, two that don't have significant chips on them, or if they need all new silverware because it's like all onesie twosie what's left over and there's no, teaspoons left, or whatever it is, she can go in, she can pull all the items from Inhaven. It shows the pricing. So it'll show the homeowner the exact item. It'll, be able to show them how much it's going to cost. There is a deal worked out with Inhaven where I think, there's a discount offered and a slight like kickback to Abode, or I can't
No,
remember. Is there not? It's just a discount that we offered to the homeowner.
something like that. Yeah.
Okay, so there's some arrangement with Inhaven where the homeowner is getting a discount based on, buying through Inhaven, and it can all be arranged like in a nice, easy to see way for the homeowner.
Yeah.
And it's not like Julie has to recreate and copy and paste pictures into an email every time, or even like send some kind of like a wonky spreadsheet.
It's a
It's
wonky,
like
we used to use the wonky
we
spreadsheet
did. Yeah,
from
I
Bed Bath
created
&
a
Beyond.
I
Yeah.
created a wonky spreadsheet
Yeah.
years ago. But mm, now there's like a really nice tool from Inhaven. And so what we can do is we can systematically go through each and every house on a, annualized basis and check and see what needs to be updated. We can easily report back to the homeowner and say, here's what we found, here's photos, here's our recommended updates that need to happen, here's how much it will cost. And we can even put in there, and here's how much we think that, of a increased revenue you're going to see from the property if you follow our recommendations. We think you might see this uptick in your revenue. Now, if someone's just like updating their dishware and their flatware, like we're not going to propose to the homeowner there's going to be an uptick in
No,
revenue.
it's more like the negative. You're gonna, if you
You're gonna
don't
get
do
bad
this, you're gonna get
reviews.
bad reviews, which is gonna hurt your listing, which means you're not gonna perform as well, which would
Yeah.
be
And
decreased
and
revenue. Yeah.
sometimes like our property enhancement process for a certain home might be triggered by some bad reviews. So it might be like Rob said earlier, a homeowner that gets some bad reviews, or we get the bad reviews that say that the mattress is lumpy, and maybe we get 2 bad reviews like that. And so we start showing the homeowner, hey, let me show you this collection of reviews that are all commenting on the mattress. Would you, here we went and sourced from Inhaven some potential mattress replacements, and here's the cost. Would you like to help us? What would you like to approve the cost of this? We will get the mattresses replaced for you. And then hopefully we'll be able to turn around these reviews and be able to show some positive reviews of people saying how comfortable the home was to sleep
Yeah.
in and all of that. And so, that process for us in the old days was really hard, really clumsy, and did not end
It wasn't
successfully very
fleshed
often.
out or
Yeah, it
yeah.
seemed like we always had to battle the homeowners to
Yeah.
get approval. And now with Inhaven and Julie creating this process that we have, we've been able to make that a lot smoother. And then I think that that's, again, that's like feeding into how do you keep this relationship strong with the homeowner, or what should a homeowner be looking for with their property management company in terms of a longer term relationship together that's going to be fruitful. And I think when you have a property management vacation rental company that can keep a focus on the condition of your home long term, even after some years, they're not just like, oh yeah, that house, we know that one. And they're just like every year.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You're not just kicking the can down the road and saying like,
Yeah.
whatever, we just take the revenue and who cares about
Yeah.
the condition of the property. It's like, no, like I said before, you're both on the same page
Yeah.
and you're both on the same team. So it has to be a situation like that for this
Yeah.
to make sense, really.
And it's like
And for it to last for like, a lot of these homeowners have been with us for 7, 10,
Yeah.
15 years. So
Right.
it's like, that's it's not like you were talking about selling real estate earlier. It's not like, okay, you sold a house and then
Yes.
they go away. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is a long-term relationship. Like,
Yeah.
you could be with some people for like 20 plus years.
Right.
Easy. I mean, because
Yeah.
there's some houses that like we started with what are now the grandparents, and now the kids have gotten the house passed down, and
Mhm.
they're more like our age-ish in their 40s. And
Mhm.
so they're having kids, and like you can see like they're not selling the house anytime soon.
Right.
They want to keep using it, and we have a
Yeah.
great relationship with them.
Yeah, I think so from a homeowner's point of view, I think although it could seem a little bit frustrating or off-putting if your property management vacation rental company came to you and said, we think you need to do some updates, you might take that as them trying to get you to spend more money, like on the surface. But I think it's good to be able to understand like part of that can be a really good sign from your vacation rental company, because what that means is that they're not just taking you into their portfolio and kind of set it and forget it and just like taking the revenue from that property, doing the, marketing, taking care of the guests, keeping on top of their inspections and housekeeping, and just like, yeah, plug and play. Like, no, they're making an effort for an ongoing check on your house in terms of what's the condition. Because we all know any property, any furniture, any level of, no matter how fancy or mid-level a property is, like wear and tear happens. There will be scuffs on walls. Like furniture does not hold up forever. Like furniture's not made like it used to be made, and it just doesn't hold up forever. And linens don't hold up, and carpet, all of that. And so all of these things you need to have an eye on them. And if your property management company is less detail oriented, or maybe they have less
It's just
care in what they
being
do, they might not
it
come
may
to
not even
you.
be care, it may just be, a thing of being proactive, and if you're
Yeah.
a homeowner too, you need to ask about what do you do that's proactive, not in just the cosmetic kind of, or user side of it,
Yeah.
but also behind the mechanical room door,
Mhm.
like, what are you doing there that's proactive every off season? For us, that's spring and fall, so what are you doing in the spring and fall to be proactive, do proactive maintenance,
Yeah.
get appliances serviced, all that sort of stuff to make sure, on New Year's Eve, the boiler doesn't go out,
Yeah.
um, that sort of stuff. So you have to service all those things and be on top of that and really and then communicate that the feedback that you get from that with this proactive maintenance back to the owner to show them
Yes.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And okay, we did your boiler inspection. Here's how much it costs. Here's what we found out. Really being able to communicate that to them in an effective way is a great way to bridge that trust too.
Yeah. And I think too, from a homeowner standpoint, it's great to be a little open-minded and welcoming to this feedback that a property manager can give you, because like Rob said, that's a good sign. Like if they're giving you this feedback, that means they're paying attention and they care and they want to keep your property and maintain your investment, right? And so from a homeowner standpoint, I think sometimes that initial negative reaction can sort of give your property management company the feeling that they shouldn't come to you with this stuff.
Yeah.
But, like, you don't want that. You want them to come to you with all the things, right? Because this is an investment of yours, and whether you invested $200,000 or $20,000,000 in this property, like, it's a lot of money. And so, you don't have that investment and you're just like, don't care. And maybe you do. Maybe you have a property that you just don't care about, but that is less likely, less
Yeah,
common, right?
that's less than
More often than
5%.
not, you care about this piece of property that you own because it's either a good investment for you or it's something that you use with your family and you have good memories there. And so if you want to maintain that investment or that place for your family to make memories, then you want someone who can notice all these details, who can take action on them and propose, remedies for you. And I think, that's one thing to remember is if your property manager comes to you with this kind of stuff and your immediate reaction is like, "What? I don't want to spend on that." They're going to be more and more um like
Trying to keep stuff together with like bubble gum duct tape,
yes, they're gonna
just
be
like,
more and
well,
more
let's
trying to
just
not
patch
tell
it.
you
Yeah.
because 'cause they're not gonna wanna make you angry. Like most property management companies, vacation rental companies, we're not here to make our clients' lives miserable. We want our homeowners to be happy with the property that they have. So we're trying to balance all the sides of this. But I think, it's also on the property management vacation rental company to learn a good way to propose these things to homeowners so that the whole situation can go positively. And that's what we're saying about
And
this
some owners
property
are great. I
enhancement.
mean, either they approve it right away, depending on
Yeah.
the gravity of the situation,
Yeah, and the
or they're
cost.
like, "Hey, we're coming out next month. I want to look at that and
Yeah.
check it out, and it's not going to affect the guest stay between now and then, or whatever." The situation is, and they actually do it.
Yeah.
And then some say that they're going to do it and then don't do anything. They
Yeah.
leave, and they leave the property. You still find the same situation. So there's all kind of different
Yeah.
ways that people approach it because everybody's different. But
Yeah.
it's really being open and having that, really that transparent relationship,
Yeah.
and being willing to know that we're all on the same page and we're
Yeah.
all striving for
It
the same
always goes
goal.
back to that.
Yeah.
The homeowners that we work with at Abode at least, and we're not like a huge company, like we don't have some sample set of like thousands and thousands of homeowners, right? Like we currently manage about 200 properties between all three of our markets. And maybe over all these years, we've managed, what do you think? 600 total or something?
Yeah. I don't
Something around that. So, like, let's say we're talking about our experience with 600 different homeowners over all these years. I mean, I think there's a lot to learn in each and every interaction, but I think the overarching theme is, and we've learned we did not know this in the beginning, and we've only really come to this conclusion in the last like 5 years or something, as we've done more study sort of deep into the history of our business and how we got to where we got to and like what works and what doesn't. But it's like when we have homeowners in our portfolio that we're gonna be working with and our team is gonna be working with who approach the relationship of the vacation rental property manager and that relationship between the company and the homeowner, and when they approach it like a partnership, like we're in collaboration on the marketing of this home and the selling of, these nights as nightly rentals, when they come at it from a partnership mindset, it always is so much more financially successful, and their home is always ends up in better condition. Like the whole thing
Yeah, it all just works.
ends
Like
up
it
better.
spirals up like I was
Yeah,
talking about.
it's right because
That's
every Rob and I have gone to a lot of therapy together and separate, and we have
a
learned
lot.
a lot,
Oh,
and we continue to. We recommend it. But like if you think about it, and a lot of the stuff they talk about in therapy is like, you're kind of either always in a place where you're spiraling up in one way or another or spiraling down. You're not doing that at the same time. Things are either going in some way in an upward positive direction or in a negative. And of course, you can reverse that over time and it can change, but it's usually one or the other. And so when we have these relationships with homeowners where their mindset is maybe not as adversarial, on an ongoing basis all the time. There's always a bad day. We all have a bad day, but like,
and mistakes happen.
yeah,
Yeah,
we make mistakes. They make mistakes. A
yeah.
homeowner might book their dates and then forget
Like
and
mess
show
up the
up on the wrong.
checkout day
Yeah,
or whatever. Like
things happen, right? And we want to be really flexible with our homeowners, and we love when our homeowners can be a bit flexible with us.
yeah.
And when we're in that sort of upward spiral, and when there is an allowance or an open-mindedness for concepts like property enhancement or sharing the responsibility of like, how is it that this water heater that we found that did not work last year, how is it that the homeowner decided not to replace it and they're still limping it along, and now we have a really expensive guest in house and now they're going to leave Abode a bad review, and really it's a situation where like the homeowner just refused to replace that water heater because of the cost or whatever. Like, how can we avoid situations like that where we can, instead of being spiraling downward, being spiraling up? And those are those homeowner relationships, like we started off the conversation with. Like, how do you get to those positive relationships? And I think there's a million little things that we could talk about, but a lot of it boils down to that sense of collaboration, of being in a partnership together that's equal, that, we both have a part to play in how the success of the rental of this property will go forward, and how we both have a part to play on both sides, whether it's the property management vacation rental side or the homeowner side, in the maintenance of the house and the upkeep and, the future
And
renovations and
the
stuff.
rates too.
And the rates. I mean, the rates are such an
Rates is a
important
big
part.
thing now too. I feel like because you're coming off of
Oh,
those
yeah.
years,
Yeah, this is a good point.
kind of the post-COVID um, bounce that we all experienced, and so you're coming off that, and then you couple that with inflation,
Yeah.
and you're like, why are my rates higher? Why are my rates higher?
Mhm.
Across, I mean, every market, and then we go to conferences and everything, and everybody's saying the same. They're giving us the same feedback they're getting from their owners, and it's
Yeah.
just like, well, we were coming off, not like those were the biggest years ever that U.S.
That was
domestic
a
travel is. I mean, that's just
that
an
was a
anomaly.
false sort of pricing scenario
Yeah.
after COVID,
And then, yeah, and then on top of that, you couple that with there is more supply in almost like every market you look at.
Yeah.
Like more people have bought homes and put them on, done the Airbnb thing or whatever, that how people phrase it. But more people have bought vacation rental homes and are renting them out, whether that be through one of these online travel agencies or a professionally managed, property manager. So you have more supply, less demand because now, everybody's can travel anywhere now. So there's all of that, and everybody's got to travel out of their system as well too. It's
Right.
just so pent up for a while.
There was pent-up
So
demand, and
it's
then that
and
saw
and
its way through.
yeah, and so the
Yeah.
rates just aren't there as
Right.
much as that the homeowner thinks they are or they're historically used to getting. And so that's been a big
That's a hump to get over.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
an educational piece. And again, it's about that thing with partnership and like being able to talk to each other and understand each other's point of view, and being able, like Brad on our team does all, he's in charge of analytics and pricing and everything. And so like he does it every day.
Right.
Like I don't care what your neighbor said or
Right.
whatever.
Brad
Like,
is pricing
yeah.
hundreds,
Or
like a
what
couple hundred properties
yeah.
every single day, and he is
And so
flexing pricing and looking at
yeah,
demand.
whatever you did in 2021 or 2022, that has no bearing on
Yeah.
2025. It
Right.
just like
let's not. Okay. There is some bearing,
some, but it's
but
like,
it's not like
it's,
you can't
yeah,
look at,
we're
say,
not starting over. No, I'm
2022.
not saying we're starting
Yeah.
over, but it's just like, okay, let's just,
Right.
that's in the past,
Yes.
so let's just flush that. And
Yeah.
then, we got to concentrate on what the demand is for 2025
Yes.
and how are we going to structure our pricing accordingly.
Yes. I think pricing with homeowners in terms of keeping that relationship spiraling upward,
Mhm.
pricing, depending on the homeowner, can be really, really difficult. I think,
Well, I mean, we've had some difficult ones where it looked like it was gonna go down the road of, like, we can't work with this person anymore.
yeah,
And then, like, after 3 or 4 times of, like, "Okay, no, here's here are the analytics, here's the data, look at this." Like, let's take,
yeah,
couple phone calls, couple emails, of all the, pulling key data and all that, getting that over to them and showing them everything. Then, I mean, it took, like, a year
yeah.
or maybe even more. And
We talking
then
with certain homeowners, yeah,
yeah, and then they've come around and been like, "Okay, no, we get it. You guys are,"
yeah.
like, "Okay." Like,
Which I think that's understandable, right? Like,
yeah.
I was gonna say, because we manage high-end properties and because they are very expensive real estate purchases, most of our homeowners are personally financially successful, meaning, like, they have done things in their life where they have achieved financial success. And so it can make it harder to be in the position of a vacation rental management company because we're gonna be there and we're gonna be establishing pricing with them to them. We're gonna be telling them about what we think the pricing should be, and they may, and I would say most times, almost all of our homeowners are more financially successful than we are, right? Just
Oh,
based
yeah,
on how much money they made in their life. Like, it's
for
all of
sure.
them, right? And so they're gonna take that and they might oftentimes think, well, look, I've made a lot of money in my life. I know how business works. Let me tell you what the price is. And it gets sticky because it's like, yes, like, while both things are true, you may have been financially successful. We have been up to our eyeballs in vacation rental pricing for nightly rates for all of these years. And so we actually do know what we're talking about because we have to know what we're talking about because we've had to optimize revenue in all these properties for such a long
Well,
period of time.
and 2, I think it's a lot of it too is psychology of, like,
Yeah.
okay, they've traveled to nice places
Yeah.
and they've rented houses, at X amount per night.
Uh-huh.
So they think their house, oh, it's just as nice as that house. So we
Yeah.
should be getting X amount per night. And it's just in their heads. Like, logically, when you explain, like, no, this is a different market, or, like,
Yeah.
all the different factors that go into, but it's still stuck in the back of their head of, like,
Mhm.
no, this property should be like $2,500 a night. And if you're saying it's $1,500 a night, you're crazy. And it's like,
Right.
and you show them all the stats and they still can't quite get over that hump,
Yeah.
you
And
know?
so sometimes it does take us months to be able to show them through, examples with their own
Yeah.
property of, like, what the price should be. But I do think that's another really strong point for homeowners to understand, and of course, this would depend on the property management vacation rental company that you're working for, and if they really do know what they're talking about, and if they really do have, an understanding of dynamic pricing and revenue management. But let's just assume that you're working with a company who you trust that does have a handle on that. Then I think as a homeowner, it's a good thing as much as you can to let your property management, your vacation rental, your STR company, to let them advise you on the pricing
Oh, for
and to
sure.
try out those rates that they're suggesting. Because especially if you're working with a company who is operating off of, mainly the money that they're going to be deriving from you as a client would be through a percentage of the revenue on those nightly rates, then they're highly incentivized to maximize rates, just like you are as a homeowner. And so I think it's really important to give the property management company, if you can trust them, which honestly, if you're letting them manage your multi-million dollar home and you don't trust them, then you might wanna rethink it
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, and 2, and if they have backup, if they're giving you statistics and they're able, either from their historical data or they're working with, one of the, different companies out there, Key Data, or, one of the companies like Price Labs or Wheelhouse or something. Like, if they're doing that, then they have this data
Yeah,
that's used for pricing. And so if you're like, "Okay, that's fine. I understand that's your data, but I want, like, twice as much as that per night,"
right,
you're just gonna be out of the market, and
right.
it's not gonna work out at all.
Well, and then as a homeowner, it's important to remember too, if you're working with a vacation rental company and they are getting their revenue from you as a client strictly off of the percentage split on the revenue, which is how we do it at Abode, then see, it doesn't behoove us to work with, a homeowner who's gonna set their rate so high that it will never book.
Yeah.
Because if we're only gonna be paid off of a split of the revenue of the rentals, and if we can tell because the rate is gonna be too high that no one's gonna book that house, then we're actually gonna be handling property management on an ongoing basis because we do weekly checks and all kind of checks all the time, no matter if the house is occupied or not, and we're gonna be doing that with no revenue coming in from that
Yeah,
property.
you're losing money on it.
Yeah, we'll lose money on it as a vacation rental company. And so that's something else to think of from the homeowner standpoint as well. Is like if you're asking a property management company to manage your house and you're asking for like a pie in the sky rate that is just like way higher than whatever the market will bear, you're literally asking them to manage your house for free, unless they're going to ask you for like a monthly management fee.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
even those usually aren't that high.
yeah.
So
And
it's not
so,
high enough to cover the cost of,
right.
the employee or,
Yeah.
your operations crew and all that sort of stuff.
So it's
And
really
you have marketing
helpful.
costs, you have I
Yeah.
mean, there's all the ongoing
Because
costs.
some homeowners will say to us, "Well, let's price it really high and see what we can get, and if we only get, like, 1 rental, I don't really care." And it's like, "I hear you, but I do care because I have to handle covering my costs of taking care of your home for the whole year, and 1 rental, even if the house costs, $10,000 a night, and let's say it's gonna book for 7 nights and it's gonna get a $70,000 of rental revenue from that 1 week. That is not going to cover
It
if a
still
house
doesn't
is
make
renting for
sense, yeah.
$10,000 a night, it's probably a really big house with, say, 7 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms and 2 kitchens and all that, and if we're taking care of that house and, checking it at least once a week all year long and doing all the seasonal and annual maintenance and all the other things, we're losing so much money with that $70,000 rental that we're getting 35% of. And so I think, that's some of the important things to think of from the homeowner's point of view is like, do you really want to ask your property manager to manage your house for free? And like, if they said yes, they would manage your house for free or at a loss, like how established and good of a company are they? Like, if you want someone who knows what they're doing, why would they be taking a deal like that, right? That's probably someone who's more desperate. And then do you want someone who's desperate taking care of your house? So I think there's like so many things to think about, but I hope through some of these conversations that, we're offering insight to homeowners and vacation rental companies about, what all the background processes are here, like what goes into the whole thing
Well,
from the vacation rental
how
side.
you can make the relationship really work. I mean,
Yeah, and
it's
how
like
you can go into a relationship with a vacation rental company if you're the homeowner, how you can go into that relationship, really setting yourself up for a successful situation financially and also like just in terms of the relationship that you're going to have because maybe you're going to have that relationship for 5 to 10 years with these people managing your company like managing your house and you're going to get to know them really well. Theoretically you would want a good relationship and like how can you set that up? So I feel like we've given a few ways to do that.
yeah.
And I think we've also proven that this is like a super confusing and complicated topic. And I think that, vacation rentals can seem like just this great, easy business, but it is really complex, especially when you get into some of these things. And obviously, when you first start a business like this, maybe you're not thinking of all these details and all the different ways this can go with a homeowner. But I think the farther you get into it, the more you should be thinking about it. And I also think homeowners should be thinking about it a lot too, because especially if you have this, property that maybe is a multi-million dollar property, it's good to know all the nuances and kind of a little bit of what goes into making the sausage of of, this whole vacation rental process.